Hey. And we're live. You did it, Alexis. Well done.
We got there, go. Mothers, happy Mother's Day, Dr. Rachel.
Oh, happy Mother's Day to you, Alexis, and to all the mothers who are watching in Australia, at least. I don't know if it's Mother's Day in other countries. Do you know? I don't think it is.
It's not. I think it's a national day. Yes. And grandmothers and stepmothers and fairy godmothers, if you're watching.
All kinds of mothers.
All kinds.
It's your day today.
It is. And we have a topic that is relevant for Mother's Day. This topic came about because Rachel and I took our river walk yesterday. Mm-hmm. And during the walk, I wrote down your quote, Dr. Rachel, which was, "Good relationships reshape our brains." And I really loved that as a concept. So that brought up topics and themes that we have discussed in this space, hopefully in a new way today. That's the beauty of working together. But we'll be touching on co-regulation, on prosocial behaviours. We'll be touching on attachment theory and even a little bit of neurobiology, which is very exciting for me. Anything you'd like to add?
My brain's just going, will we? Yes, we will. That sounds great. I'm not prepared. It's much better in a way not to be prepared, because our conversation can create something new if we haven't rehearsed anything, right?
Well, yes. Now, for those who did get to take a look at the pre-reading, you will have discovered that the nervous system is a physical part of our biology. And this taps into why I work with the nervous system, because it is physiological, but it is also how we come up with concepts and how we experience emotion. So the nervous system is pretty fascinating.
It is. And we know now from the science that we cannot take these things apart. They're not separate. Our mind, our brain, our body, other people's behavior towards us, so our environment, everything's interconnected. And if you'll indulge me, I'll just read that quote that I did put in the post a few hours ago as pre-reading. Is that okay?
Please, yes.
I think it's such a great quote, and it's, why do words have such wide-ranging effects inside of you? Because many of our brain regions that process language also control the insides of your body, the major organs and systems that manage your body budget, your energy. These brain regions are contained in what's called the language network, which guides your heart rate up and down, adjusts glucose entering your bloodstream, and changes the flow of chemicals that support your immune system. So the power of words is not a metaphor at all. This is our brain's wiring, and we see similar wiring in other animals. For example, neurons that are important for bird song also control the organs, the system of a bird's body. And for humans, words are literally tools for regulating our bodily systems, both for ourselves and other people. This is not just a metaphor. This really is the connection between the outside and the inside.
Language. I love that focus. My understanding is language is connected to Broca's region of the brain.
Yes.
And we're also talking specifically about the vagus nerve, which, there's emerging evidence around the vagus nerve, polyvagal theory, many of you will have heard of. But the reality is, it's nothing new that we're talking about here. We're just really synthesizing and piecing together the fact that we think and feel with the very same structures that we digest and excrete.
Yeah, exactly. And so words can help our system, or they can be harmful to our health. And of course, we're resilient. Brief withdrawals from our body's bank account can leave us stronger and better if they're if they are brief, like just like stressing your body can make it bounce back, as we know with exercise or, extreme heat or cold if it's a short burst. But getting stressed over and over and over again within relationships or any other context can have very grave effects. This chronic stress, really, as we all know, it can cause damage to the tissues of our body and illness, and in the form of what we didn't used to realize: verbal abuse and aggression, social rejection, neglect. These psychological and behavioral experiences of relationships have a very literal effect on our systems. And we know more and more, of course, about childhood development and how sustained chronic stress in childhood or trauma can literally, the body keeps the score, as we always say. And so, just even the act of being insulted in the workplace, let alone bullied, can really take it out of you on that day. So, we've got this fundamental dilemma that the best thing for our nervous system is another human being. I know every time I see you for our river walks, Alexis, I always instantly feel kind of uplifted. There's a physiological change in my system, when I see people I care about. So other people are good for our nervous systems, but another person could also be the worst thing for your nervous system. Or as Simone de Beauvoir said, other people are heaven and other people are hell.
Yes. Yeah, so we're talking about how good relationships reshape our brains. I guess in contrast, poor relationships will also reshape our brains. So we're talking about how relating with each other has a direct impact on the way that we think, not just short term, but even permanently. And I really appreciate that you have brought to our walks, Rachel, a culture of appreciation. And sometimes you'll even say, how about, for the next 15 minutes, we just chat about what we respect in each other. And I love that. You make me chuckle when you raise it, and I absolutely love it. And we do. And we then say, well, I really love that you are so smart. I love that you're constantly reading about the latest evidence. I really appreciate that you bring cutting edge psychology into our conversations. And I know I have said this to you before, that you apply these practices. So a culture of appreciation is a simple way that we can influence each other's brains positively and permanently.
Yes. So two things on the back of that. Thank you. I would like to just balance things up here by remembering, as you say this, how I've expressed my appreciation for your sparkliness and your confidence. I'll never forget the image of you coming and meeting my team at North Brisbane Psychologists when our new clinic opened, and just how you treated everyone like you've known them forever. And I just found that to be such a strength of yours, your kind of interpersonal warmth. So I just wanted to balance up the score chart there a little bit. And on this culture of appreciation, this is one of the things we do with couples whose relationship has over time ended up fairly full of contempt and negative sentiment. We ask them to look for the good, look for the positive, and express appreciation like they did in the beginning of their relationship. Most of the time, if we've decided to be friends with somebody or start a romantic relationship, it's because we liked them in the beginning. And if we liked them, we tended to tell them some things that, kind of express that appreciation. And then over time, that wears off. And that contempt, we know, has contempt meaning a lack of respect. The denigration, the put downs, the verbal spars, that we kind of give to each other in long-term relationships and in families. This has a very real effect on our health, and we have the science for that now. But I think one of the comments I made to you yesterday was good relationship, which is why I value community and having mentors and having peers like yourself, is that good relationships our brains are plastic. We can, over time, with practice and discipline, we can rewire them, we can reshape them through good relationships. So all is not lost, even if you've grown up in a dysfunctional family.
That is where my mind is going with this. As we're talking, it's occurring to me that there are obviously many different kinds of relationships where we can apply these practices around, you know, a culture of appreciation and fondness and respect. But ultimately, we can do this for ourselves. And even if we have grown up in an environment that wasn't full of words of affirmation or touch or ways that you may have experienced love, you can offer this to yourself. This is something that I've been working with clients a lot in this space around, and that's, of course, reparenting and building a secure attachment with ourselves through those simple practices, like, you know, self-talk. Hey, Alexis, nice job. You got through what you needed to do today. Hey, Lexi, I'm really pleased that you took the time for your kids today. You know, words of affirmation for ourselves, I think, are incredibly powerful. And even
Yes.
if it means seeking them out when you're driving in the car, so you're hearing them as well as making the sound. I mean, we're talking about language here. It applies absolutely to ourselves, creating a culture rich with self-appreciation.
Self-appreciation is so important because wherever you go, there you are. So if you can get better at having more positive dialogues with yourself, more compassionate, appreciative dialogues with yourself, even if you've done something that you don't feel good about, you know, saying, you know, you're only human and everybody makes mistakes and you're having a hard time right now and you're doing your best. Which is a bit different to appreciation, but it's still a supportive dialogue for yourself. It's self-empathy. Then that obviously has those thoughts send a chemical message to your body. And we must never forget that self-talk or thoughts are chemical messages that you're sending to your body. Just like when someone talks to you, there are, you know, chemical changes that happen in your body. If someone's saying disrespectful, you know, critical, contemptuous things to you, you feel such a big impact of that viscerally, but it's the same with your own self-talk. So, I mean, that's where a good coach, therapist, mentor can, you know, even like this is where I think cognitive behavior therapy does have its uses, where when we understand the nature of this thing between our ears, which is a prediction machine, and I've just posted a link in the comments below, which I highly recommend everyone check out. It's got that quote from earlier. It's got a full article on this topic of how relationships shape our brain, and a TED talk from Dr. Lisa Feldman called Why You Aren't at the Mercy of Your Emotions. And what she says is, if you've had stressful interactions earlier in your life, perhaps traumatic relationships or toxic relationships, your brain has come to predict that this is what's going to happen in relationships, right? And so you'll feel fearful and other emotions more easily in relationships. But when we can, she doesn't say this exactly in the TED talk, but she says when we can realize that our mental distress maybe is just physiological sensation, and we can learn to tolerate it just as discomfort, then we stop making all this meaning and all these predictions, which is what our brain is doing 24/7. And this is what mindfulness meditation can do. It can just stop the prediction machine just for a short period of time, feel the feelings, drop the story, go into the sensations of the body, learn to tolerate that as, you know, not pleasant, not comfortable, but, you know, tolerable. And then maybe even start to create, she talks about this in the TED talk, create new emotions that are more calming or more comforting or even more inspiring. And of course, through healthy relationships, we can really create some of those more helpful emotions. But yeah, we aren't at the mercy. We aren't at the mercy of our past conditioning.
Yes, that makes good sense, and highlights that we also have choice about who we engage with and the way that we engage. That's what I'm hearing, and that we can, this came up on our walk yesterday also, that by the people that we choose to engage with, we're learning skills and approaches in the way that they might be talking to us or showing appreciation, so that we can then apply that to ourselves, so almost internalizing external relationships. So we do have a lot of choice around this neural development, like you say.
Yeah. Internalizing healthy relationships is huge, because this is where having healthy relationships makes such a difference and reshapes your brain, as you said, because we do internalize each other. We're such social tribal creatures, so hardwired for attachment and connection, that if we had adults earlier in our life who, were very, took our power away, were very authoritarian or even abusive, we've internalized some of those messages, but also some of those methods for getting power back in our world. But if we have a healthy attachment figure in our life later on, we internalize that as well. And then that helps us talk more kindly to ourselves. And, I've had clients who've said to me, when I've asked them to close their eyes and just appreciate themselves for having survived something really difficult, and speak to themselves in a very simple way, you survived that, well done, you got through that, and just feeling the appreciation towards themselves. And they've come back to me a few weeks later and said, that was really powerful, just to appreciate myself, and starting to create new patterns of, honoring and valuing their own resilience and their own feelings. James made a comment that says, even appreciating the shame that we experience. Shame is one of the more painful emotions that we all experience, but even appreciating the painful emotions, that they've got something to tell us, that we can survive them, that we have survived them, we can get through the pain.
Thank you for that point, James. That has been instrumental in my growth, especially in the time that I've known you, Rachel. Learning to tolerate difficult emotions has helped me to expand my capacity, not only to be with others in their difficult emotion, but to recognise that there is a need that the emotion is highlighting. Even the experience of shame probably highlights that there's a need for acceptance, dropping some judgment.
Empathy, yeah.
Empathy, yes, even bravery.
Yep.
Having courage to act in prosocial ways, even if I'm feeling some embarrassment or fear or shame, that I can be with that and tolerate that and still act in a prosocial way. I can show up and I can focus and engage, and that will meet the need for breaking through judgment or embarrassment.
Yeah. And I'd like to say on that point and address a comment that Joe has made in the chat, that the way we talk about this, because of the nature of this being a 30-minute conversation, and, anytime you hear people talking like this, it makes it sound, because we can talk about it in a few minutes, in a few sentences, it makes it sound like just something you can do. And it's not, it's not like you can just saying the words tolerating distress. That is not the same thing as actually learning to tolerate distress, because Joe's point was sometimes it's not just as simple as tolerating the sensations, because they can be overwhelming. And I completely know what you mean, Joe. I completely agree. And so we have this concept of titration in psychology, which is similar to chemistry. It's just bit by bit by bit. So even if you can tolerate the feeling and the sensation for 2 seconds without a thought of catastrophe about it, 2 seconds of not catastrophizing, 2 seconds of not predicting the worst and feeling the feeling, that is a good start. That's better than no seconds. Do you know what I mean? And then maybe you're back in the catastrophe of it again. And then maybe you go for a walk and you do some physiological self-soothing in some sort of neutral or healthy way. And then maybe next time you're able to, you try again for 2 seconds just to tolerate the sensation and the feeling. And then it becomes 5 seconds and 10 seconds and maybe eventually 60 seconds. But it's not easy because of this connection between mind and body. And if the body's really dysregulated, like really, really physiologically aroused, the mind will be hijacked by that. And in turn, the mind will reinforce the distress in the body. So short-circuiting that, there are a myriad of ways, and learning to tolerate sensation is definitely a key one of those. But I just want to validate that this is a real process. This is a long game for many of us. It's not like you just do it overnight.
And to continue with your analogy of titration, because that used to irk me a little bit, coming from a chemistry background. It didn't fit with me very well. But as you're speaking, it's occurring to me that it's actually perfect, because titration is exactly a drop dosage of an acid to a base. And when the pH shifts past a neutral point, it will change colour. So the point there is that even these microdoses, and we could probably liken that to the microdose of those chemical messages that you were describing earlier, even though the substance may be a base for a period of time and you may not actually notice the change, once you reach a tipping point, then the substance changes colour completely. That is the process of titration. And that's what happens at a tipping point, where we can sustain a new approach, a new way.
I really, really love that, Alexis. I didn't know that because I don't have a background in chemistry, but I wonder if it's similar to an image I give my clients sometimes, which is old-fashioned butter churning. Back in, hundreds of years ago when they made butter, they would churn the milk and it would take hours. I presume they must have taken turns, or their shoulders would get really sore. And at some point, just quite quickly, it turns into butter. After hours of churning, it sort of suddenly becomes butter, which must be a physical chemical change at the molecular level of the milk, I imagine. But it's a bit like that with our personal growth and change. Sometimes you just keep doing it. And then one day you've got it. And it seems to have happened quite suddenly, like with the changing color, the chemicals. But actually, it's a process. It just seems like it's changed. And the point is persistent commitment. Don't give up. If you'd stop churning, you'll never get the butter. Just keep going.
And I'm getting a kick out of the idea that I might be churning and churning and churning. I can just pass it to you for a while, Rachel. You can churn for me for a while.
You go to your therapist, you take your churning, can you churn with me for a little while here?
Yeah. I'll dry needle you if you need it. I'm really appreciating this conversation because I get such value out of the recognition that our thoughts and our feelings do change our physiology. And it's almost like I can't be reminded enough of that connection. I mean, it's potentially why I am so fascinated with meditation and yoga, and have been for a long time, because that's exactly where the mind and the body meet. And they do. I mean, what is that really? It's almost like conception. It's fascinating. Where does thought and emotion turn into physiology? But the point there is, it's inspiring to know that we can actually influence our physiology. I mean, even eye contact, eye gazing will give us a boost of oxytocin and probably a boost of serotonin.
Well, it might. I mean, it does for me, but it depends on what meaning you make of it, right? Because if it's associated with a lot of fear from some past experiences, it might, it might take some practice, a bit of practice.
Yeah, of course, it does depend on the meaning. But my point here is that we can influence the way that we feel permanently with these micro changes in where we place our attention, how we hold our attention, the way we're talking to ourselves. These small little things actually influence us. And I think it can be very easy to feel, like Jo says, you know, yes, it is hard to experience emotion as sensation. And yet every time we do it, we get a little bit more detachment, a little bit more space from the narrative. So we're empowering ourselves beyond the narrative. Every little micro change contributes to our growth.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And James says revisiting things and practicing attaches hope to our insight. So we may need to start with the insight, but the insight, the understanding is not enough. It's the practicing and the revisiting that, you know, keeps the sort of hope and the momentum that we need to keep going.
Hope to insight. That's a beautiful quote. Thank you for that, James.
Yes. I happen to know James personally. He's a colleague of mine, a very, very lovely man.
Oh, this James who I interviewed a little while back.
No, another James. And I've just taken on another James in my practice. So I have Jameses everywhere. But James is not in my practice, but James has his own practice. And he's just given us a 12th century Korean Zen master quote: although you may need to cultivate further, you have awakened suddenly to the fact that deluded thoughts are void and empty, and the mind's nature is originally pure. Yes, originally.
James is a yogi. Honestly, Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras talks about delusion. It's described as one of the mental fluctuations that hinders the clarity of the basic nature of mind.
And I think keeping an awareness of the basic nature of mind, which is like a mirror or a clear lake, it's pure. But of course, we're human and we love stories. So I sometimes say to my clients, imagine when you go to the cinema, right? You can go to the cinema and you can see a horror film or a romance or a drama or a sci-fi. And when you sit in the cinema, the words and pictures and sounds coming at you from the movie will do things inside of you. It'll trigger feelings. This is just like the rest of life, actually, being in the cinema. So it's a good metaphor. Now, you can get absolutely caught up in the movie and let yourself be, you know, traumatized by it if it's that kind of movie. Or you can remember you're in a cinema and that this is sensory information coming in, having an impact inside of you. And the metaphor we sometimes use is sitting in the back of the cinema rather than at the front of the cinema. So instead of your thoughts being here, you give yourself a bit of strategic psychological space by going and sitting up the back of the cinema. You may not be able to stop the movie, but you can change the nature of your relationship with some of those pictures and thoughts going on in the cinema of your mind. You know, even that can make a difference, but it takes practice.
That's such a helpful image.
Yeah.
Detachment.
It's a kind of detachment as much as you're able to. Hey, I've just noticed the time and I do need to head off, Alexis, but I might leave you with everybody because we've still got about 20 people watching.
Gorgeous. Stay with me. I have some exciting news.
Very exciting news. And you can find out more on the Facebook page, but Alexis is also about to tell you all about it. Sorry, I have to run. It's my Mother's Day present. My husband's taking me out.
Good on you, husband. Enjoy your Mother's Day, and we'll see you same time, same place, live at 5.
Yes, and thank you for letting everybody know about our upcoming workshop series. So exciting.
Thank you, Dr. Rachel. See you next
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
For an opportunity that you will not want to miss. We have for our loyal Facebook followers a pre-launch invitation to join our upcoming workshops. We have a series of 3 workshops all around emotional intelligence. And on that, you'll have our lead facilitator, Dr. Rachel Hannam, and her wealth of experience as a clinical psychologist. You'll have my 2IC support there as a naturopath and a yoga therapist. And we'll be covering the 5 components of emotional intelligence, including self-awareness and self-regulation, right down to social skills. We also cover motivation. So really a comprehensive workshop, a series of workshops, I should say. And we're open for ticket sales just for you guys. We haven't launched officially. This is the pre-launch offer for you at 5:45. So you might even want to get your phone and set yourself an alarm because I'll be including the link below here in the comments as soon as I sign off just now, and you'll want to follow that link to get your ticket for those 3 workshops. Really exciting stuff. It will spill over into your work, your colleagues, your peers. It will spill over into your family relationships. If you're partnered, it will spill over into your romantic relationship, even your family relations. And you can also apply, as we always talk about here and online, applying these techniques with yourself, which is really where it all starts and where it all ends. So I hope you set your alarm because we may well sell out within minutes. We would love to have you guys there because we love relating with you guys. We love seeing your same names. We love hearing about your insights as well. So thank you for joining us tonight for Good Relationships Reshape Our Brains. And that includes this relationship, would you believe it? Or not, you do influence us, and we certainly hope that we have a positive influence on you. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll be here same time, same place, but cash in on those tickets. We'll see you there.